Hi everyone, I'm Hextasy, and today we'll be taking another crack at ranked double battles, but this time we'll be using a revamped snow team. One of the Pokemon I had planned on using was a Mamoswine, and I get this one completely trained up, and then I find out it only learns Icicle Crash through breeding, so it is impossible for this Mamoswine to know it, and like the strategies I normally use, that means it's suboptimal. But instead of just raising a new Mamoswine like a rational person, we begin wonder trading in hopes of getting a Pokemon to replace it. Hopefully we get something like an Alolan Sandslash, since it gets access to the Slush Rush ability that we abused the last time we tried a snow team. Unfortunately, we don't get the Sandslash we wanted, but we do end up with plenty of shinies to add to our collection, one of which happens to be Alolan Ninetales, who will prove to be very useful for our snow team. We also get a second shiny Tropius that's literally a carbon copy of the first one. It's kinda odd that happened twice. But on top of all of that, we just happen to get traded a Mamoswine that actually knows Icicle Crash. So that's pretty cool. After a little more training, we end up with these 15 Pokemon as viable options for our snow team. And after a little consideration, I decide to bring in our Slowking with the moves Psychic, Chilly Reception, Weather Ball, and Scald, Iron Bundle with the moves Aurora Veil, Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, and Protect, Blaze Breed Tauros with Bulk Up, Trailblaze, Raging Bull, and Body Press, Avalugg with Curse, Body Press, Ice Spinner, and Crunch, Mamoswine with Icicle Crash, Rock Slide, Earthquake, and Trailblaze, and finally, Alolan Ninetales with Aurora Veil, Blizzard, Moonblast, and Chilling Water. The general idea behind this team is to depower the opponent's physical attackers as much as possible while targeting and eliminating their special attackers. We have two Pokemon to set up Aurora Veil, which will cut all damage we take from moves by a third. Tauros' Intimidate ability and Ninetales' Chilling Water will lower the opponent's attack, and if we get lucky, Slowking's Scald has a chance to burn, which will cut the opponent's attack in half. Once all special attackers are out of the way, we can bring in Avalugg, who will basically be unstoppable at that point. Because I finished this team at the very end of Season 12, we're just gonna do one battle to see how things go. The team we're up against looks pretty evenly split between physical and special damage. We probably should have brought in Mamoswine, since it has an Assault Vest to help it deal with special attackers, but I decide to start with Slowking and Iron Bundle, while Tauros and Avalugg are in the back, and our opponent decides to start with Salamence and Kilowattrel. We immediately have Iron Bundle use Protect to give us a turn to set up the snow, and it's a good thing we do because Kilowattrel targets it with a Volt Switch. Salamence moves next and sets up a Tailwind, doubling their team's speed and activating Kilowattrel's Wind Power ability, increasing the power of the next Electric-type move it uses. Slowking closes out the turn by using Chilly Reception, setting up the snow and swapping out Slowking, and we decide to bring in Tauros, whose Intimidate ability lowers Salamence's attack. Not wanting Kilowattrel to take out Iron Bundle, we swap out for Slowking. Salamence uses Protect, and Kilowattrel goes for a Discharge, getting a one-hit KO on Tauros and leaves Slowking in pretty poor shape. Iron Bundle comes back in, and Kilowattrel outspeeds us and takes out Slowking with a Volt Switch, swapping out for Breloom. Salamence hits Iron Bundle with an Iron Head, but it doesn't do much damage, and luckily we don't flinch, so we can finally get up our Aurora Veil. And now we bring in our final Pokemon, Avalugg. This isn't shaping up to be a great debut battle for us. They Terrastalize Breloom into a pure Grass type before Salamence uses Protect, and Breloom nails Iron Bundle hard with a Seed Bomb, leaving us with just around a quarter of our HP. Iron Bundle retaliates with a Freeze Dry and gets a one-hit KO on Breloom. And then Avalugg gets its attack blocked. Their Tailwind goes down at the end of the turn, and now we won't be outsped at every turn. Kilowattrel comes back in, and we Terrastalize Avalugg to boost the power of its Ice-type moves. Iron Bundle gets another one-hit KO with a Freeze Dry on Kilowattrel, and Salamence sets up another Tailwind, but then goes down to an Ice Spinner. Their final Pokemon is Zoroark, and it outspeeds both of our Pokemon and takes out Iron Bundle with a Flamethrower. Avalugg then lands a Body Press that would have been a one-hit KO, but Zoroark was holding a Focus Sash and survives off of 1 HP. Zoroark hits Avalugg with a Flamethrower, leaving us with just 69 HP. Nice. And then we win the fight with one more Body Press. Well, that was a lot closer than I thought it would be. So it turns out one battle isn't enough for me to see what the flaws in my team are, so we'll be using the exact same team going into Season 13. For the first battle of the season, it looks like we're against a very physically offensive team, so we'll bring in the same 4 as the last battle, starting with Slowking and Iron Bundle against their Garganacl and Annihilate. Iron Bundle uses Protect, and Annihilate punches Slowking in her derpy face, taking out about half of her HP, and Garganacl goes for Assault Cure, but it gets blocked. Slowking uses Chilly Reception, setting up the snow, and we swap out for Tauros. Garganacl and Annihilate's attack goes down, but it turns out Annihilate has the Defiant ability, causing its attack to raise instead. Whoops. Iron Bundle then sets up an Aurora Veil, and Tauros hits Annihilate with a Raging Bull, bringing it to just over half of its HP. Annihilate retaliates with a Brick Break, taking out more than half of Tauros' HP and breaking the Aurora Veil. Garganacl then hits Iron Bundle with Assault Cure, not doing a lot of damage initially, but it will deal damage at the end of every turn, so Iron Bundle won't last long. Knowing we need just a little more power on Raging Bull to take out Annihilate, we choose to Terrastalize Tauros into a pure Fire type this turn. But Annihilate is swapped out and our new target will be a Tinkaton. Garganacl uses Wide Guard, but we aren't using any moves that will be blocked by it. Iron Bundle sets up a new Aurora Veil, and Tinkaton goes down in one shot from Tauros. Clefable comes in next, and we land a Hydro Pump and a Body Press to take out Garganacl. Clefable then Fire Punches Iron Bundle in its stupid face, hardly doing any damage, but it's enough for Iron Bundle to succumb to the Salt Cure. Slowking and Annihilate come back in, and Clefable Terrastalizes into a Water type. Tauros finally is able to land another Raging Bull on Annihilate, scoring the KO, but Clefable then hits Tauros with a Water-type Terra Blast, getting a revenge KO. Slowking then lands a Psychic, dealing a solid amount of damage, and we bring in our final Pokemon, Avalugg. Avalugg and Slowking are quickly able to finish off Clefable with a combination of Body Press and Psychic, winning us our first fight of the season. Woo. For the next battle, it looks like we're up against a much more specially offensive team, so we'll be sure to bring in Mamoswine, who should have solid special bulk thanks to holding an Assault Vest and having a massive HP stat. They open with Tornadus and Regidrago against our Tauros and Ninetales, whose ability causes the weather to change to snow. Now, I'm not totally sure what to expect here, and make what's probably a less than ideal play. Regidrago is Terrastalized into a Steel type, and Tornadus uses Tailwind, causing Regidrago to have enough speed to go next, and a Steel type Terra Blast eliminates Ninetales before we can even set up our Aurora Veil. Tauros then closes out the turn by using Bulk Up, boosting its attack and defense. We bring in Iron Bundle next, and thanks to its booster energy giving it more speed, we should have the fastest Pokemon on the field. Regidrago uses Protect, giving Iron Bundle a great opportunity to set up an Aurora Veil. Tornadus then lands a Bleakwind Storm, dealing a solid amount of damage to Tauros and nearly taking out Iron Bundle. Tauros goes for a Raging Bull against Regidrago, but it's blocked. On the following turn, Iron Bundle lands a Freeze Dry against Tornadus, not quite dealing enough to get the KO, and it can fire off another Bleak Wind Storm. Iron Bundle goes down, but the attack misses Tauros. Regidrago fires off another Terra Blast, but it's not enough to take out Tauros, and we retaliate with a Raging Bull against it for the one-hit KO. We bring in Mamoswine next, and they bring out Fluttermane, whose special attack is increased by its booster energy, but this might actually be a good thing for us. Fluttermane takes out Tauros with a Shadow Ball, and a Bleak Wind Storm takes out a decent chunk of Mamoswine's HP. But then, Mamoswine can retaliate with a Rock Slide, removing a decent bit of Fluttermane's HP and taking out Tornadus. Their Tailwind ends this turn, and their final Pokemon is Wo-Chien, whose ability lowers Mamoswine's attack, which isn't great. We Terrastalize into a Grass type, and Fluttermane hits us with a Shadow Ball, bringing Mamoswine to about a third of its HP, and we retaliate with a Trailblaze, just missing the KO, and Wo-Chien hits us with a Giga Drain, not dealing a lot of damage since we now resist it. Since the booster energy increased Fluttermane's special attack, we should outspeed it now, and with a bit of luck, we might be able to win this. Mamoswine moves first and uses Rock Slide, taking out Fluttermane and not dealing a lot to Wo-Chien. Unfortunately, we don't get the luck we need, and Wo-Chien doesn't flinch. It lands a Pollen Puff, which takes out Mamoswine, making for our first loss of the season. For the third battle, it looks like we might be up against another very specially offensive-oriented team. Not wanting to miss getting Aurora Veil up as quickly as possible this time, we open with Iron Bundle and Ninetales to take on their Iron Valiant and Armarouge. The Armarouge is immediately Terrastalized into a Grass type, and Iron Bundle sets up an Aurora Veil for us. Iron Valiant then lands a U-turn against its very own teammate. This not only activates its weak armor ability, doubling its speed while lowering its defense, but it was holding the weakness policy item. This doubles both its attack and special attack. Indeedee comes in to replace the Iron Valiant, and its ability causes Psychic Terrain to appear. And with all that set up, Armarouge can then use Expanding Force, getting the one-hit KO on both Ninetales and Iron Bundle. Slowking and Mamoswine are in next, and Indeedee uses Follow Me so we won't be able to focus Armarouge down. It lands another Expanding Force, but both our Pokemon survive, and Mamoswine uses Rock Slide, which hits both Pokemon. It's not enough to beat Armarouge though, and our remaining Pokemon are quickly picked apart, leaving us with a second loss quite quickly. For the fourth battle, we're up against a team of starter Pokemon, and we decide to start with Ninetales and Tauros, while we keep Mamoswine and Iron Bundle in the wings. They start with Stoner Typhlosion, who reveals the items we're holding, and Rillaboom, whose ability sets up Grassy Terrain which will heal all grounded Pokemon at the end of the turn. Rillaboom opens the match by hitting Ninetales with a Fake Out, but we don't have to worry about flinching, because Typhlosion moves next, and an Eruption erases Ninetales from existence. Tauros also loses half of its HP, but we're able to then land a Raging Bull on Rillaboom, taking out about 3/4 of its HP. We bring out Iron Bundle next, and Rillaboom hits it with a priority Grassy Glide, but thanks to the attack drop from Tauros and the snowy weather boosting our defense, we only end up losing about half of our HP, and we can outspeed Typhlosion and get the one-hit KO with a Hydro Pump before Tauros finishes off Rillaboom with one more Raging Bull. Delphox and Empoleon come in next, and the Empoleon immediately uses Protect. We play it safe here and have Iron Bundle set up an Aurora Veil. Tauros moves next, and our Body Press on Empoleon is blocked, and Delphox uses Trick Room, so now their slower Pokemon will be moving first. Empoleon is now the fastest on the field, and goes for a Hydro Pump against Tauros, but we get lucky and it misses. Delphox is next, and it hits Iron Bundle with a Mystical Fire, taking out more than half of its remaining HP and lowering its special attack. Tauros lands a Body Press, leaving Empoleon with barely any HP, and a Hydro Pump from Iron Bundle leaves Delphox in pretty poor shape before its Citrus Berry heals it up a bit. On the following turn, both Iron Bundle and Delphox protect, and Empoleon actually lands its Hydro Pump this time around, taking out Tauros. The grassy terrain ends at the end of this turn, so there will be no more passive healing. We bring in Mamoswine, and then we both Terrastalize our Pokemon. Their Delphox becoming a Fairy type, and our Mamoswine becoming a Grass type. Empoleon lands a Flash Cannon on Mamoswine, but because we're no longer an Ice type, it doesn't do a lot of damage, and Iron Bundle survives another Mystical Fire on just 3 HP. But it's a shame it doesn't survive its teammate friendly firing it into oblivion with an Earthquake. But that's okay because Empoleon also goes down. We're now in a 1v1 situation, and Delphox outspeeds us and hits us with a Mystical Fire. But it only brings Mamoswine down to about half HP, and we can land an Icicle Crash for the KO, winning us the fight and evening out our win-loss ratio. For the next fight, it looks like we're up against a fellow Weather Team enjoyer, and they are rocking a Rain Team. We're going to try to get a little fancy here and start with Mamoswine and Iron Bundle, while we have Ninetales and Avalugg in the back. And they open the fight with Basculegion and their Weather Setter, Politoed. We immediately swap out Mamoswine for Ninetales, cancelling their Rain and causing it to snow, but they swap out Politoed for their own Iron Bundle, so they'll be able to set up Rain again. Our Iron Bundle can then set up an Aurora Veil, and Basculegion hits Ninetales with the last respects, taking out just under a third of its HP. Needing to be able to stop any potential rain plays in the future, we swap out Ninetales for Mamoswine, and Basculegion gets swapped out for Politoed, turning our snow back into rain. Our robot Santa Bird is then able to hit Politoed with a Freeze Dry, taking out more than half of its HP, and their Iron Bundle hits us with an Icy Wind, hardly doing any damage, but it lowers both of our Pokemon's speed. We decide to not make the obvious switch this turn and go completely on the offensive. Politoed is swapped out, and in comes the String-Chi Surfer Goldengo. It's hit by a Freeze Dry, and even though it's a critical hit, it doesn't do much damage, and their Iron Bundle uses another Icy Wind. It misses our bundle, but still connects with Mamoswine, who then lands a Rock Slide, tickling Goldengo, but removing half of Iron Bundle's HP. And here is where we make our biggest mistake. I wasn't paying close enough attention and didn't realize our Iron Bundle avoided the Icy Wind, and I thought its speed was lowered once again. And because we'll be relying on that speed to win the fight, we need to swap it out and reset it. We bring in Ninetales, who causes it to start snowing, but then Mamoswine and Ninetales are both taken out by a Make It Rain from Goldengo. Great move name, by the way. We bring in Iron Bundle and Avalugg, and hopefully they can win us the game. Goldengo is swapped out for Politoed, and we Terrastalize Iron Bundle into a pure Water type. And they are now essentially one of those high-pressure water cutters. We cut Politoed in half with a Hydro Pump, getting the KO, and their Iron Bundle uses another Icy Wind, hardly doing any damage, but once again lowering our team's speed, which is not great. Avalugg finishes off their Iron Bundle with a Body Press, and now we just have to deal with their Basculegion and Goldengo. We protect Iron Bundle, hoping Avalugg can survive an attack and make a play, but this shiny turd craps all over Avalugg, taking it out. We try to take out Basculegion first with a Freeze Dry, but it's not enough for a KO, and we go down to a Shadow Ball, losing the fight and leaving us at 2 wins and 3 losses. For the 6th fight, it looks like we're up against a very balanced team. So we decide to bring in our standard Slowking, Bundle, Tauros, and Avalugg set. And they bring in Gengar and Thundurus to contest us. I'm expecting Gengar to hit Slowking with a Ghost type move here, so we Terrastalize into a normal type to become immune, while Iron Bundle uses Protect. Thundurus goes for a Volt Switch, but it gets blocked, and Gengar surprises us by using Hypnosis against Slowking. But it misses, so we're able to use Chilly Reception and setting up the snow. Neither of our reserves are exactly a great option to bring in against these two, but we decide to bring in Tauros. Iron Bundle sets up our Aurora Veil, and surprisingly Tauros outspeeds Gengar and just misses the one-hit KO with a Raging Bull. Thundurus hits Iron Bundle with a Volt Switch, and we only survive because of the Aurora Veil, and they swap into Urshifu. Gengar lands Hypnosis this turn, and Tauros is put to sleep. We swap out Tauros for Slowking, and Iron Bundle finishes off Gengar with a Freeze Dry. I expect a revenge kill against us here, but Urshifu just uses Bulk Up, increasing its attack and defense. Next in is their Sylveon. Iron Bundle hits Urshifu with a Freeze Dry, and it ends up being a one-hit KO. But this time they do go for the revenge kill, and Sylveon takes out Iron Bundle with a Dazzling Gleam. Slowking hits Sylveon with a Psychic, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. They bring in Avalugg next, and they bring Thundurus back in. I only now realize that Thundurus was holding the air balloon, which really confused me at first, until I remembered the entire gimmick of this game is changing types. And Thundurus probably has an electric Terra typing. But we'll never know because they Terrastalize Sylveon to boost the power of its Fairy type moves instead. Thundurus hits Avalugg with a Hammer Arm, taking out a grand total of 10% of our HP. Dazzling Gleam lands next, and it brings Avalugg to half HP, and he retaliates with an Ice Spinner against Thundurus for the KO. Slowking used Weather Ball just in case Ice Spinner wasn't enough, but it doesn't do much to Sylveon, leaving it at just over half of its HP. It lands a Draining Kiss on Avalugg, bringing it down to under a quarter of its HP and healing a solid amount of its own HP back. But Ice Spinner removes about the same amount, and a Scald from Slowking brings Sylveon low and leaves it with a burn. Sylveon takes out Avalugg with one more Draining Kiss, and we retaliate with a Psychic, which isn't quite enough to take out Sylveon. Luckily enough, at the end of the turn, the burn actually takes out Sylveon, winning us the fight and evening out the score once again. For the final battle of the day, it looks like we have another Weather Enjoyer here, this time with a split Sun and Rain team. We'll bring in Iron Bundle and Tauros first, with Ninetales and Mamoswine in the back. They start with Fluttermane and Torkoal, who sets up the Sun and activates its partner's ability, raising their speed. We're going to be a little more aggressive with our start and target Torkoal with a Hydro Pump while we swap Tauros out for Ninetales. Unfortunately, Tauros blocks our attack with a Protect, and Fluttermane lands a powerful Dazzling Gleam, leaving Iron Bundle without much HP. Torkoal gets swapped out for Iron Hands, and our Iron Bundle is able to set up an Aurora Veil before it goes down to Dazzling Gleam. Ninetales then hits Iron Hands with a rather weak Chilling Water, but this lowers its attack. We bring in Mamoswine to replace Iron Bundle, and then swap Ninetales out for Tauros, further lowering Iron Hands' attack. Fluttermane hits us hard with another Dazzling Gleam, but it then gets hit hard by a Trailblaze from Mamoswine, leaving it just outside of the red while raising Mamoswine's speed. Iron Hand then hits us with a Drain Punch, and it brings Mamoswine down to just over half of its HP. Mamoswine is now the fastest Pokemon on the field, and another Trailblaze takes out Fluttermane, and Tauros sets up a Bulk Up. Iron lands hands at Frick. Iron Hands lands another Drain Punch against Mamoswine. Granted, it's not doing a lot of damage, but we're still getting pretty low now. Torkoal comes back in, replacing our Snow with the Sun, but we're going to use that to our advantage. Iron Hands is swapped out for Gastrodon, and we terrestrialize Tauros into a pure Fire type. Mamoswine moves first and lands a Rock Slide, dealing a solid amount of damage to Torkoal, but almost nothing to Gastrodon. Tauros then uses a Raging Bull against Gastrodon, and despite resisting it and being close to max HP, we still manage to get the KO. Probably because we got lucky and it's a critical hit. But our luck doesn't stop there, because Torkoal ends up flinching. Iron Hand comes back in, and it avoids an incoming Rock Slide from Mamoswine, but Torkoal is hit pretty hard. Tauros lands a Raging Bull on Iron Hands, and it's left with barely any HP. Had Rock Slide landed, it would have surely gone down. It hits Tauros with a Drain Punch, taking out about half of its remaining HP, and Torkoal flinches again. And in a very anticlimactic finish to the fight, our opponent rage quits. I can't exactly blame them, we got really lucky at the end of that fight, but with that, we're brought up to 4 wins and 3 losses. We get bumped up to Pokeball rank, and that looks like a solid place to stop for now. And now that I've actually done a few battles, I think I have a general idea of where this team falls short. It takes a bit too long for it to actually get going, and we're not able to handle special attackers as well as I had hoped for. We'll be revamping the Sandstorm team next, and hopefully we'll handle these issues better. Anyways, I've been Hextasy, thanks for watching.